the coal supply situation dealt with. The supply of other things was to be focused on. Although the seedling Arks city would need a surplus, more than it, at that point, forced did. And not just of coal, but of food as well. To create a surplus would require resource depots. And they were put on standby. At least at that point. As for the coal production, there was enough of a storage of coal for that to be afforded to be upgraded. 2 steam coal mines would be even better. The automaton was building the resource depots to allow for greater coal storage and the greater storage of other things. Although sawmills would be useful as well, considering wood is always needed. It certainly was in the seedling Arks city, needed for research, making paths, and At this point, the leader of the seedling Arks city determined where a wall drill could be constructed. Something that would yield more wood. And also it would be somewhere for an automaton to work. One that didn't require a nearby heat source to make it livable. Although it did require a steam core to refuel. Which, thanks to the yes. At this point, the industrial hothouse had been researched, so that could be improved. And the ore drill was after that. A virtually endless supply of wood. while the trees along the way to the coal mines, well, steam coal mines by this point, were a good thing, they would not last as long in terms of supply. As for the northeast, that would be a good place for resource depots, as there wasn't anything there at that point. I suspect much would need to be stored before the storm hits.
One day ends. It's time off.
It certainly was the case with our city. The factory was shut down at that point. And the engineers reallocated, largely because they were needed elsewhere. Although, at this point, both steel production facilities could be operated. The trees to the northeast were almost gone. So that automaton could be reallocated. Yes, Winterhome couldn't afford to use steam cores more than it needed to, and so relied more on a human workforce. Here, the human workforce was sparse and needed automatons to make up the rest. Strange, and in the past, there are those that wanted to smash up machines because they were taking away their livelihoods. Yes. If machines could do what... well... if machines with one human keeping track of it could do the work of 100, that would mean 99 people would lose their jobs. So it was understandable why they did what they did. Although wanton destruction could lead down a darker path. That was something else to consider. Some people are incapable of understanding that good, evil, it's just not as simple as that. In fact, it's the difference between stealing to support someone that you care about, and stealing just because you can, just for the thrill. In fact, the early highwaymen, they were royalists who were on the losing side of the English Civil War. There's a difference between those highwaymen and the highwaymen who just stole to keep the party going. Well, let's face it. Some people believe any old refuse.
Work time. Get back to work.
With the food production facilities improved, there was the matter of wood. That was needed in great quantities for a number of things. Thankfully, the wall drill research would remedy that. The wall drill research was completed at this point. As for what to research next, it was decided that more efficient automatons would be a good idea. Something to make up for the shortfall. due to the leader of the seedling Ark City wanting to keep his the human workforce healthy. Well, as healthy as they could be anyway. And on this day, a figure was seen in the distance. A figure that was heading towards this city. The seedling Ark City, to be more precise. At this point, it required a different angle to have the wall drill constructed. As for this figure was well, it would be the next day before this figure arrived. So there was nothing that we could, rather they, could really do at this point. All they could really do is keep doing what they were doing as if they didn't hear that. They would arrive here eventually. And the housing did not need expansion. At least, not at this point. As there was enough for all. And it was quite comfortable as well. As for the coming cold, yes, that would not be a problem either. As there was enough insulation and enough heat to deal with it. At the damaged snowcat, there was some steel. Although with the storm approaching. At this point it would be a good idea to move away from it before things got a bit too cold for their liking. Or indeed, too cold to be healthy. With more efficient workers, well, workers made of metal anyway. The question was decided, well, answered, to expand the storage capability of the, well, storage capacity. Yes, I wasn't that good with words. That would mean more could be put in the resource depots. Yes, why am I unable to get the words out? I mean, the right words. The wall drill was ready by this point. It required a steam core. But it would be worth the investment. especially as
Go rest all you can.
wood was needed for quite a few things. More storage depots. Although that's required a bit of wood as well. And even with the additional heat setting, more coal was being gathered than it was being used. Which would be a good thing if there was, well, somewhere to put it all. Although thankfully, early on day 15, that would become less of a problem. Although there were likely to be other problems. They'd be dealt with, either in anticipation of them, or as they develop. Although automation, that would be something that would be long overdue. Because the only thing that hasn't been automated at this point was food production. Well, like us, they needed to eat at some point. Although they needed much less. But at least the coal storage situation was no longer as much of a problem. The same could be said about food. No, it wasn't food. Right, let's see, what was it? Oh yes, it was wood, not food. Sorry I said it like that. Even though these reports of something that had happened concurrent with the events of what happened with our city, it can affect it. Those who read it. As for the snow-covered supplies, that was food. The snowbound dreadnoughts was next. We could see where that would take us, or rather take them. storage capacity at this point had become a necessity, as to prepare for the storm, all would need to be housed, which had already been done. All expeditions recalled. A large surplus of coal was needed, and a large surplus of food supplies was needed, both of which would need additional storage facilities, which meant that increased storage capacity had become a necessity. Which meant to provide a surplus would require the generator running on minimum power, at least until an increased amount of heat was necessary. Which would be the case within the next couple of days. So it was best to make the most of it while it was relatively easy. Well, the leader of this city, the city with the seedling Arks, the future of plant life on this planet,
Get to work. Move, people. There's plenty to do.
he certainly thought so. But what of that figure approaching the seedling Ark city? Did that indicate there was more signs of life in that region? Well, on day 15 we would find out. But for now, I need a break. I've been going on this for a while now.